Coming at you with an extra must-add player of Josh Bell, who has been absolutely crushing it over the past week. Find out why he's a must-add today.
You are Locked On Fantasy Baseball, your daily fantasy baseball podcast. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
Hello, fantasy baseball fanatics. I am Matthew Ahne, and welcome to the Locked On Fantasy Baseball podcast, part of the Locked On Podcast Network, coming at you 2 times a day to help you win your league. So make sure to like, subscribe, comment, rate, and review. That helps you not miss a show and helps out the show. Today's episode is brought to you by FanDuel. The biggest stage in the world is World Soccer is here. There's goals to be had on FanDuel. Visit FanDuel.com to get started now. Now, we got a good episode earlier today. If you listened, it was a must-add players episode. And I'm coming at you with a bonus name, a player that is not really widely owned, 18%. It's Josh Bell, Minnesota Twins. And there's some potential for some value this week. And I like this potential just for the week. So here's the deal. Josh Bell on the week had already a monster week. 4 run bombs, 8 ribs, batting 286. Kind of think maybe he already blew his load. It's possible. It is so possible, but it wasn't a hollow performance. And that's what kind of gets me wanting to own Josh Bell a little bit longer than just this week. Let's dig into that, because I think that's kind of like the saving grace kind of type deal, right? This past week, 29.4% percentage. That was coupled with a 58% hard hit percentage. That is insane. There's going to be negative regression. Do not get me wrong. And I'm not saying he's repeating another 4 home run week, by no means. But what if he gets you 2 home runs? What if he, keeps walk percentage at 8.7%? So only striking out 17.4% over the past week. What if that happens? Because, the X batting average is saying 320. Obviously, I don't think that's real either. Probably more like 270, 260. And what if he hits 260 over the past week? He hits 2 more home runs, gets some decent runs and ribs. Wouldn't you be happy to add him and just stream him for the next week, going into the All-Star break with a little bit of a lead? Yeah, I like the sound of that. Think even with some negative regression, he's still going down to a power-friendly underlying stat situation, which therefore makes me want to add him and have him on my team, essentially. So with Josh Bell, why wouldn't you? Here's also a lineup coming up over the next couple of days is Cleveland. So Cleveland makes it a very attractive way to kind of get it out. Granted, he probably will have to, go up against Messick and Gavin Williams, but still, there is a potential for him to go off. Why wouldn't we want to get a piece of that? And quite honestly, even over the last 2 weeks, which was kind of trending towards what he did this week, in the previous week, my guy also had just did what he had to do. He had a 17.6% barrel percentage. So, hey, Josh Bell, I like what you're doing, my friend. I want you on my team. Let's add him. In all honesty, let's add him. Telling you, this might be the week where Josh Bell just takes off for another week and then kind of fades off into the sunset, I feel. Might be the last week to stream for a little bit, but why not? Coming out after this, I'll tell you my strategies, who should be adding him and whatnot, coming up right after this. This back-to-school season, spend less on your kids with Amazon. We all know how back-to-school shopping experience can get. It starts with just a few items on a list, and suddenly you're shopping like crazy. We all know how wild back-to-school experience can just be, right? You're shopping for supplies, clothes, lunch gear, tech, plus the 10 other things just you didn't expect. It all adds up so quickly. It's like when you're buying clothes for back to school and then your kid just has a growth spurt 2 weeks later, and then boom, you're right where you started. It feels like you genuinely can't keep up with how fast your kid's growing. Your budget is just not going with it. It's like, oh. Then you're like, okay, buying supplies for yourself, and you just find yourself asking, how did the calculator become one of the more expensive items in the cart? I wasn't expecting math to start costing me money before the school year even began. Like, I feel like there's a life lesson there, but I'm still not getting that one. The math ain't mathing for me. And when the teacher supply list arrives and then somehow every item feels absolutely reasonable on its own, then you add it all together and like, what? That stuff just need for a real. Does a kid really need all this for a school year? So just remember, with Amazon's low back to school prices, spend less on your kids because every dollar you're not spending on them, you're not spending on them. Shop back to school at Amazon, spend less on your kids. If you want a little bit more uninterrupted fun and games with Locked On Fantasy Baseball, make sure to join the Everydayers Club. Start your free 7-day trial. Click the link in the description below. All right, look, here's the deal, right? Like this is one of two things. You got a tough matchup this week, and Josh Bell might be the one we want to roll out, but he's a little bit on the riskier side because he just blew his load this whole week. Or you need a Hail Mary, and you're almost on the cusp of elimination, and you got to pull a rabbit out of your hat. These are the kind of streams that either make you or break you, and they're not guaranteed, right? Like I could talk about underlying stats all day, but the stats still need to come into fruition, um, you know, and still need to happen, right? Like there is a world too. We've seen this a million times. Michael Harris's career, except for this year, has been wow. The underlying stats say one thing, but it hasn't really reflected on the stat sheet. So there is those things, but Josh Bell does have a track record of having some power. Let's just be honest. Last year he had 22 home runs. This month he's had 8. I mean, past month, 30 days, not the month of July. But there is a world where this continues. The underlying stats say even if there's drastic negative regression, it's still going to put him in a considerably great spot to still hit home runs. That's why I think it'll be a 2 home run week with, a potential to have a couple runs and a few ribs, batting about 260. Are you really mad at that? Where are you going to get that? Right? And that's kind of the key part where Josh Bell kind of falls into that weird, awkward spot of you kind of got to do it. But if you're in a spot where you're just like, yeah, I can't really risk anything. I'm right on that, fence, and I'm in an okay spot, and I think I can kind of hold down 6th place. I ain't rolling out Bell. I'm going to be honest. If you're like me this year, where like you feel like you're playing fantasy football, everybody's hurt, and you're just like, well, how did I get here? I thought I was playing fantasy baseball. Bell is the start. He's kind of like the option for you. Obviously, everybody else I also talked about today. If you please go back and watch the episode, but there is some options. Bell is a great option. He's a nice, 10th guy that I'm mentioning today, essentially. And let's be honest, where are you going to get a guy that can potentially do that? You look at the barrel percentage on the season for a lot of players, or even over the last week, that maybe didn't perform on the stat sheet. And then you look at guys that just like have had as many home runs and aren't as old, but you go and look at the underlying stats, they might be hollow. And that's kind of where I'm just like, hollow stats are not good. That means they can't repeat. But stats that support the performance say it can be repeated, and also say that things are going in the right direction. He didn't get lucky, which therefore leads me to Josh Bell. And I might be talking in circles, but there is a distinct difference. You don't always want to add somebody at the peak, especially if they don't have the underlying stats to support the performance. Josh Bell is the exact opposite. Yes, maybe he's at the peak, but he also had the underlying stats to support the performance. So therefore, you kind of just trust that what he's been doing is legitimate and can somewhat keep things going. So Josh Bell, must add for me. So, guys, please like, subscribe, comment, rate, review, do everything you can to share this show because we truly love bringing it to you each and every day. If you're listening on audio, check out our boy Sully over at Locked On MLB. Really puts on a great show covering all MLB coverage. With that being said, guys, peace out.